Welcome back to Matchplot as we look ahead to this weekend's game, Derby versus Coventry City. Coventry started the season with a 0-0 draw against Hull, and while Lampard will be slightly disappointed with the result, there were plenty of positives to take away. A well-structured defensive performance and controlling the game with his possession-based style. That said, some familiar issues remain in the final third, with clear-cut chances and, well, goals still very hard to come by. A midweek 1-0 win over Luton didn't do much to change that, as once again we underperformed our XG. With our first away game of the season, fans will be well aware of our particularly patchy away form last season. Perhaps with our new Monzo card kit, we've shifted the curse. John Eustace has made some strong additions to the squad, and after completing the Great Escape last season, you'd expect Derby to kick on and have a much better campaign. That said, they didn't exactly fly out the blocks. Their opener at Stoke ended in a 3-1 defeat, with 2 late goals sealing it for the hosts. Derby struggled to get going, managing just 32% possession, 3 shots and only 0.39 XG. Their cup tie against West Brom was a more competitive showing, but they still lacked a cutting edge, finishing only with 0.18 XG. Early days of course, however they'll be desperate for a result being back at home. Now into the expected lineups, Lampard has stuck with the 4-2-3-1, and while we saw a bit of 4-4-2 in the cup, I'd expect him to revert back to that 4-2-3-1 for a more defensively solid performance. I'm also expecting Ellis Sims to return to the squad, with Haji Wright starting on the left for a few reasons we'll get into shortly. Derby, meanwhile, opened their season in a 4-4-2, a shift from their usual 3-5-2 or 5-3-2 variant setups. Last season, they did do the double over Coventry with strong defensive displays, though to be fair, Coventry never really hit the levels in those games. For the cup tie, Derby did revert to that 3-5-2, which offered a more competitive structure to their game. However, Eustace seems to be exploring this 4-4-2 to help incorporate more wing play, so it'll be interesting to see how the shape they go with for Coventry. Now let's look at the tactical breakdown for Derby. Defensively, they sit deep in a low block, a big contrast to Coventry's much higher line. Offensively, it's similar. They stay deep, then rely on long balls and quick transitions to move forward. If we look at the average positions from the game against Stoke, you can just see how deep the team sits and how narrow those forward players are. There's even a bit of crossover between Adams and Blackett-Taylor. Compare that to Coventry, who set up much higher with greater width and a more progressive midfield, giving that freedom to push forward. The shot map from the Stoke game tells its own story. Just 3 chances created all match, but here's the warning, one of those went in. And while they struggle to create volume, they can be clinical, outperforming their XG in both League and the Cup so far. Their pass map from the same game highlights a few things. Number 1, the directness of the team. They don't build slowly, they go forward quickly, and that's indicated in their possession stats as well. Number 2, a clear preference for longer passes into their target men before building from there. And 3, a willingness to risk possession. Unsuccessful passes do not deter them from trying the same approach again and again. We know they're going to go long. Looking back into last season's data, they ranked 22nd for expected goals and 18th for goals per match. They're not exactly renowned for their attacking threat, albeit they have recruited in that area this season. Defensively though, their goals conceded per match was actually slightly better than Coventry's. And in terms of possession, as the graphic showed earlier, they averaged just 43% possession last season, and that dropped to 32% in their opener at Stoke, so you can expect Coventry to dominate the ball here. Defensively, Derby were very impressive last season, ranking 2nd in the league for interceptions and successful tackles also. It speaks to a toughness and resolute nature to their side, making them a very difficult team to break down. When you look at their top scorers from last year, it's clear the goals weren't exactly flowing. And with 2 of the top 5 scorers now gone, you can see why Eustace has been busy strengthening in the transfer market. We know that Derby like to play direct, but I want to show you just how fast and purposeful that can be with their goal against Stoke. It starts all the way at the back with the goalkeeper, and within just 7 passes they're in on goal. Clear, decisive progression, using the strength of their forwards to target men, to hold up the ball, find space and drive forward. Carlton Morris is involved early, works his way up the pitch and finishes it off, and it's a perfect example of why he's such a danger. For Coventry, it's a big watch out. Ensuring our press isn't broken is crucial to avoid situations like this. And so Morris becomes our first key player to watch. He's central to Derby's approach, receiving the majority of those direct balls thanks to his aerial presence. It's no surprise he's 97th percentile for aerials 1 per 90. While he's not a relentless presser, if you let him get close enough to bring his strength into play, there's going to be trouble. Expect plenty of long balls aimed at him, with teammates pushing up quickly to support. The introduction of 4-4-2 means it's difficult to double up on him defensively, making those battles defensively even harder. Our next key player is Ebu Adams, usually a defensive midfielder. However, he actually started up front, or at least played along the front line in that 4-4-2 against Stoke, offering a much more aggressive press than Morris. That did leave the midfield slightly out of balance, so it will be interesting to see if Eustace sticks with him in that role. Then there's Corey Blackett-Taylor. He had injury-limited minutes last season, however, he's been impressive in pre-season and is perhaps one of the reasons behind that 4-4-2 switch. He's a very direct winger with plenty of ability, and his link-up play with Morris is very dangerous. My final note on Derby's tactical setup is defensively. They're very stubborn. They sit deep, narrow, and make it very incredibly hard to find space and break the lines. Whether it's that 4-4-2 or 3-5-2, they're set up to win the ball back in the middle of the pitch and immediately launch into a counter, something Coventry will have to be prepared for. Coventry will look to stick to their 4-2-3-1 shape with a possession-based game. It will keep the defence high up the pitch, looking to pin Derby in their own half and ultimately look to force turnovers. I think Sims will actually start this game with Thomas Asante dropping to the bench, and the reason being is that Derby aren't a side who play out from the back. They go long and direct almost immediately, so the need for an intense press is reduced. That said, I still expect to see Coventry press in that 4-4-2 shape, with Grimes dropping back when needed to mop up defensively. We'll expect to see plenty of interactions down the wings, with overlapping fullbacks being a big part of the plan. As we mentioned earlier, Derby's defence likes to sit deep and narrow, which could leave space for our wingers to progress and deliver crosses into the box. It's likely to be a patient affair, a lot of passes back and forth, waiting for the right opening, and that patience should allow our forwards to get into strong positions before the ball comes in. Derby's two centre-backs in the back four struggled aerially against Stoke, giving up several headed chances, and while their numbers improved against West Brom, they still allowed opportunities from balls into the box. That said, after the whole game, Coventry will need to deliver a much higher quality crosses if we're going to make these moments count. And now a quick snapshot into our key players for the match. For Coventry, if starting, Hadji Wright and Ellis Sims will be crucial. I think they'll be well suited for this game. They won't need to press as much as our usual system, and together they can offer some real attacking threat. The big thing is, can they take their chances when they come? Sakamoto and Milan will also be vital, and I can see Derby's left side being vulnerable. Keep an eye on Milan, driving down the wing and delivering crosses into dangerous areas. For Derby, as we've already touched on, Carlton Morris brings great strength and is a natural poacher. Corey Blackett-Taylor offers something different down the flank and will keep Milan busy defensively. Ebu Adams adds tenacity in the midfield and will be heavily involved in disrupting Coventry's possession game. And finally, a quick note on Craig Forsyth. Much like Milan, he has a serious long throw, so watch out for him trying to cause chaos in the box throughout the match. And so finally into predictions. Possession-wise, you'd expect the game to play out with Coventry in control. Lots of short-range passes, patient build-up, and an emphasis on working the ball into space, particularly down the right-hand side, and this game will not be rushed. Derby, on the other hand, will go long, looking for their strong forwards to hold up the ball and bring others into play. Coventry will keep a much higher line, while Derby will sit in a deep block, making it difficult to break them down. I'd expect an aggressive showing from Derby and a bit of a stop-start game with plenty of fouls to disrupt Coventry's rhythm. And Derby will be dangerous in transition and a real threat from set pieces, so something to watch closely. So what to expect? Well, Coventry will have a high volume of crosses and shots, with Derby with fewer chances but more direct play into their target men. I'm expecting a high XG for Coventry and, well, a relatively low XG for Derby. But while City have been struggling to finish, Derby will not pass up on chances if they get them. Overall, it will be a true battle with strong defensive performances on both sides. If Coventry can cut out any defensive errors and the forwards turn up, we'll have a real game on our hands. My prediction model says if Derby go 4-4-2, it will be 2-1 Coventry win. If they go into a deeper 3-5-2, it comes out as 1-1. Slightly cheeky with two predictions, but hey, that's that. You let me know your thoughts ahead of the game. How's this one finishing? As always, thanks for watching, and until next time.